Hi everyone, welcome back to our tutorial series of how to deploy your blockchain nodes and endpoints using Zeeve. Today we're going to be covering a new protocol, Binance Smart Chain. It's a very popular blockchain protocol. I'm sure you've heard of it. And today we'll see how Zeeve platform can be utilized to ease your work when dealing with Binance. So I've logged in with a demonstration account here, as you can see, and we've got some bit of elements which are already lit up here on my dashboard. We'll skip all of this because we've already covered this in our previous recordings, and one of them being for platform overview specifically. So we'll directly jump on to our dedicated node section and we'll see how we can deploy a Binance Smart Chain node. So once you come to dedicated node section, you'll find that this screen will have a button such as Add Network here. I've got some nodes already deployed here, so that's how you can see some different network cards which are already present. But you can go ahead and click your Add Network, and it will redirect you to the subscription screen where you can select the subscription which you have purchased with Zeeve for the purpose of deployment. So here are all the subscriptions that I currently have on my account. But if you do not find yours, you can just go ahead and click Buy Subscription here, and it will take you to the subscriptions page where you can find Binance Smart Chain. When selecting that, you can select all the options which are relevant for you for your node type, and select the number of nodes you want to purchase and just click on subscribe. I already have some subscriptions in place, so I can skip all of this and just go ahead with the deployment. And you can see I've got in Binance itself, I have a couple of subscriptions with different deployment strategies. I'm going to go ahead with BYOC AWS. I can give a name to my network, so let's call it Binance Smart Chain Network. And let's say I can select the type of network that I want to deploy, whether it's mainnet or testnet. So for this demonstration, I'll stick with testnet, but mainnet should all be the same. I can set the deployment strategy, so Zeeve supports multiple deployment strategies, whether it's native or Kubernetes. For Binance, native deployment usually works out fine, so we'll just go ahead with that. I can set the workspace where I want my nodes to be scheduled at, so I'm just going to set a public nodes workspace as an option, and I'll just click next. So here I can see in the next step, all the configurations which are very specific to the protocol are being asked for. So my RPC username credential with which I can connect to my Binance node. I can also give a strong password. I can choose the node name which I want to give, so node XYZ, why not? So this is how I can refer to my node onto my console here. I can also enable what kind of service do I want to have on this blockchain node. HTTP and WebSocket based connections can be allowed if I just check these options. And I can also select what kind of APIs do I want to enable or disable onto my RPC node. So I can click on admin, miner, and all of these APIs would automatically be enabled on my node from the very start when I want to have that node up and running. A little bit of advanced configurations also, whether sync mode should be full or not, the transient lookup limit. If you want to enable IPC server also, you can also choose to configure these options. You can read more about them into Zeeve's documentation or onto Binance's own documentation of how the node setup usually takes place. I'm gonna just keep it to default and move ahead. Here I can select all the cloud configurations which are relevant for my deployment. So I can select the node, select the region where I want to deploy. And because this is AWS that is selected here, I get all the regions for my own node. So let's say I go ahead with EU Central 1. I can choose a cloud account. Let's call it Zeeve Dev. And I can also select the instance type. So I'm just going to go ahead with TT large, but you can also choose based on your own requirement what kind of instance type do you want to go ahead with. Because you have BYOC, all of these options are being asked from me. But otherwise, if I would choose Zeeve Manage, I really wouldn't have to worry about any of this, apart from the region which I would want to want my node to be set up upon, I wouldn't have to fill any of these details. So Zeeve would manage your cloud by itself without you having to configure your own cloud account onto Zeeve platform. So selecting this instance type, I can go ahead next. Zeeve will do a lot of processing here, check whether the instance type is available, if the right specs of the machines are being met for this very protocol, and if all those checks have been succeeded, then it will go ahead and start initiating the deployment. Based on the choice of cloud, choice of deployment strategy, whether fully managed or BYOC, the deployment type may vary. So for an AWS-based setup, it may take about 10 minutes to set up a machine and have your node fully set up and ready onto itself. But we don't have to wait for that long. I already have some networks present here. So if I show you my project on Binance, that's a network name that I chose for my setup previously. I can see when I click this network, I can see that there is one node running in this network already. It is deployed out to the region of US Central 1. And I can do various actions towards it, like stop, restart. I can open the analytics of it. I can delete the node, and I can also check the status of the node at the moment. A little bit of graphical representation of how my node looks onto my console. And if I click on view endpoint, I can see another bunch of details like what is the current block height, what are the connection URLs for HTTP and WebSocket both. And I can also see a little bit of example code snippets of how to connect to my own node with different language as options, both with HTTP and WebSocket. So this allows me to connect to my node however I want. And if I show you guys what kind of monitoring capabilities that Zeeve offers, I can click on Analytics button here, and I can see two options, which are Node and Binance. If I click Binance, I'll get all the metrics which are specific to Binance blockchain protocol. But if I select the node, I would get all the metrics which are specific to the system metrics of where exactly the node is running. So system metrics are all about the general bits which we are used to, like RAM, CPU, rootfs, memory, and network I/O, the disk space that is attached to your current node, how much of disk space you have left at the moment. So all of these specs start popping up, and you can constantly monitor it from your dashboard. But Zeeve also provides you alerts on basis of these metrics. So let's say if your CPU goes beyond a certain threshold, if your RAM goes beyond a certain threshold, then you would get automatic alerts onto your account saying that some attention is required onto your node. Perhaps you would want to scale your node further. Similarly, for Binance metrics, we capture a lot of blockchain specific metrics here, like the number of peers that your node is connected to, the current chain head for your node, if the block count is updating or not. So latest header, latest receive, latest block, the transaction pool, which is currently maintained onto your node, any group transactions, local transactions, block processing time, transaction propagation, storage size, all of the fancy bits which are specific to Binance, yet quite important for a better service of your business purpose. So you can see here that we've got a lot of different metrics here, and again, Zeeve provides you alerts on basis of all of these. So let's say if the number of peers of your Binance node goes lesser than a certain threshold again, then Zeeve would throw an alert out saying that this node may not be able to sync blocks that quickly anymore because the number of peers has gone lesser than what is to be expected. And similarly, let's say if your node is not syncing blocks for a while, then again Zeeve will throw an alert for that your node is not syncing blocks for a while. Maybe you would want to look onto what is going on inside this. So these are some metrics that we provide, and of course, we can always come to our Zeeve's team if you need any help for setup or monitoring or whatever your doubts might be. Our Zeeve support is available all the time to help you guys figure out what you want to do with Binance or any such protocol. That's how easy it is to set up your own Binance network. You can even choose to add more nodes to your network, or you can just go ahead and delete your network altogether. Nothing fancy. But if you want to get access to the RPC endpoint of a Binance node, you can do so without even having to set up your own dedicated node. You can do that with our RPC API endpoint services, where you can click and create your own endpoints in just a couple of clicks. If I click on RPC endpoint, I can again set my subscriptions. So here I've got my launch plan, which is selected. I can give a name to my Binance endpoint. I can select the workspace where I want to create this endpoint for. I can select the protocol. I can select the network type, whether it's mainnet or testnet. And I can just click next. And in the second step, I can also configure the security. While it will have some default security with which this endpoint will be made secure, you can also choose to just enable JWT, where you can give your public key name for the JWT token, and you can also just paste your JWT public key so that whatever requests come in, they're verified against that public key itself to make sure that your requests are coming from the right source. But regardless, we can just disable it for the time being, and we can go ahead next. And just by submitting, I would have created my own endpoint. And I can see my connection URLs for Binance, for HTTP and WebSocket both. I can again check out the different code snippets for my purpose to make a connection with. And I can, if I choose to do so, I can change my security configurations at a later stage as well. Similarly, we've got metrics that we capture. So this is a new endpoint, so you can't see a bunch of details, but we provide you all kind of metrics of what kind of methods have you been calling onto your Binance endpoint, what is the success to failure ratio of your request, what are the total number of requests that you've done in the last 24 hours, any invalid request, API units consumed within the last 5 minutes. So you're always aware that your requests are not peaking beyond a certain threshold. And let's say if you do cross a certain threshold of your quotas, then Zeeve will provide you an alert saying that you may want to upgrade your plan, your quotas thresholds are being reached, and you may suffer some downtime. So Zeeve's alerts and monitoring come here as well to make sure that your uptime remains as much as intact as possible. And you can, of course, also see the recent requests that have taken place onto your endpoint. This is how easy it is to get started with Binance. I just had to do a couple of clicks and get started with a Binance RPC endpoint without having to set up my own dedicated node. But just to give you an idea what it takes to set up an endpoint, I can go to my subscription section here and just show you guys what kind of subscription plans have we got for our RPC services. You can see our developer plan has about 10 million API credits free for anybody who would just want to start off with any blockchain protocol. So 10 million API credits per month is what we provide for free to the community. Anybody can just get started, start utilizing it, experimenting with Binance and use it within their project. And it's got certain limitations as well with the number of requests per second, the kind of blockchain data APIs, endpoints that you can create. An RPC endpoint is only one in limit that you can create with this subscription plan. So that wraps up everything that we have got for Binance, but we're adding more and more interesting features as we are doing for a lot of other protocols. So stay tuned, and hopefully we're able to serve all your requirements. If you think that there's something that you or somebody else can benefit with, if we add such a feature, we'll be very happy to take your feedback in and help create those automated features onto our Zeeve platform. So your feedback is very valuable, and it has been so for a lot of protocols so far, and we really look forward to it. So thanks for joining in, and I hope you enjoyed this session of how to get started with Binance. And if you've got any requirements, again, feel free to reach out to us. We'll be very happy to connect to you folks and hear you out. And also subscribe to our channel on YouTube. On LinkedIn, we've got a very good presence. On Discord, we've got a good community ourselves, and I think you would benefit just joining to our community while it is still growing out of its nascent stage. So happy to have you with us, and see you next time taking up a new protocol. Thank you. Bye-bye.